This is Girls Stop Playing, a weekly show that empowers Black women to stop playing with their potential so they can live a life that they love. I'm Koereyelle, your favorite homegirl, and I'm on a mission to help Black women make the money and get the honey. You can have it all as long as you're willing to work. Welcome back to another episode of the Girls Stop Playing podcast. It's your favorite homegirl, Koereyelle, here to encourage you to stop playing with your potential and start working for what you want in life and in love. You already know that I'm bringing you the information and the conversations to help you make the money and get the honey. You can have it all as long as you are willing to work. And y'all, we got a working woman. Well, she ain't in the studio. We're doing this virtual, but she's on the show. Nevertheless, we have Shari Nycole joining us I keep saying in the building. I think I just wanted us to be in person so bad that I'm just holding on to that. But we have Shari Nycole joining us on the show. Welcome to Girls Stop Playing.
Thank you for having me. And we can both be in the building. That's fine. You're in your building. I'm in my building. And mind you, y'all, it's my fault. Okay. My schedule was so absolutely absurd. I wasn't able to physically be with you, but I'm so grateful for us to have this exchange. So thank you for having me.
Of course. Listen, we're going to get it in. This conversation is going to give the people what they need, whether we are sitting on the couch together or not. I am confident that it's going to be some good girl talk. So for the people who are not familiar, we got to put some respect on your name. Okay. So Shari Nycole is an award-winning content creator, media personality, sports commentator, and producer. You are the host of the Just a Thought podcast, co-host of the 3 on 3 pod. And I know that there is just so much more that you do. So I want to give you an opportunity, first of all, to tell the people what it is that you want people to know about who you are in this season.
Oh my goodness. I hate bragging on myself, talking about myself. So this is always awkward, but I think you really hit the nail on the head. You know, I'm in a place in my life where my brand is a lot more talent facing than it's been in years past. And I really owe that, to the pandemic. And I know it was a tough time for a lot of people, and for me too, but career wise, that was a time when God really gave me the capacity and the space to pivot. And so right now I'm having an amazing time also co-hosting the Willie Moore Jr. Show, obviously hosting and co-hosting on various podcasts that you mentioned. I do work a full-time job. I'm not going to say their name because I don't want people asking me for things. It is on my Instagram page, but I will tell you this. I am the host and producer of Black Women in Sports for this particular company. So I don't want to get in trouble with them. But again, check out my Instagram. It's sitting right there. But I'm having a great time and really being able to function in more of the gifts that God has given me. I was behind the camera for a long time, not necessarily because I wanted to be, but because that's where I was for different reasons, different decisions that I had made or not. And now to be able to do both, it's a great feeling. So it's really great to be talent and producing. And I've done some documentaries in the past and want to continue to move in that respect. I'm a long form girl, so I love that. And just really want to see what the sports space has for me. I really, it went from dipping my toe back in to now I'm full fledged in the sports space. So just covering sports as much as possible. It's really, really good to be back. It really is.
So pre-pandemic, that post-pandemic opened up like floodgates for you. What was the season immediately prior to?
I was producing for Sister Circle Live, and we were in our 3rd season. And the show, for all intents and purposes, was doing really well, ratings wise, and we all thought we were good to go. And the pandemic happened, and we were actually told that we were still good to go. And then a couple of days later, the show was canceled. And so I was producing. I was still very much fighting to be seen as talent. I went to school to be talent. I'm trained in that respect, talent and producing. So I always knew I had the capacity, and I built up the experience over the years. And I was just fighting. I really was in a fight to be able to be talent and producer. And so I was definitely discontent in some areas. I think creatively as a producer, I was flourishing. I was able to lead the charge on the Sister Camp series that we did for Sister Circle Live. And that was a big, big opportunity for me to just really stretch as a producer and an editor. And I had a great time doing it. But outside of that, I had a lot of miserable moments because I knew that wasn't all that I wanted. And I knew what I was capable of. And it was like, hey guys, you ever felt like you were hollering and screaming in a crowded room, but no one could hear you? That's really how I felt in that season. And the pandemic happened. And I remember sitting in my room and in my mind, I'm like, yo, there's nowhere to go. There's no other job. Everything is shut down. And the Lord spoke to me. He said, there's no more excuses. There's no more scapegoats. You can't say this job did this. This boss didn't let me do this. It's all up to you. You have an array of contacts. Your Rolodex is deep. Start reaching back to those people that you've connected with over the last 10, 11 years and get your own thing going. And so I started Just a Thought initially as a podcast now, but it was on IG Live for many months. During the pandemic, I called all the managers and the publicists and the different celebs I knew personally, and not one person said no. And it's just been an incredible run since. And I would tell anybody, because I know your platform is all about encouraging people and young women in particular, just do it. And sometimes you have to put your head down and work. I wasn't expecting, someone to say, oh, my wife watches your IG Lives. Would you like to do a podcast? I have a podcast network. But that's what happened because I said I'm going to do an IG Live series. So if you have something that is really on your heart to do, just do it. And just know somebody's watching. So, and like I was telling you before we started, I didn't even realize you were watching anything that I was doing. So just do it. Just follow your heart and also follow God's instruction. And I'm glad I did, because my brand is certainly, it's blossomed since then. And I'm a much happier person because I'm able to function in all the different facets that God's gifted me in.
How did you navigate serving in this capacity that you're the producer, you have signed up, and not only are you serving, you're like thriving, you're good at it. This is like your jam, right? However, you still, and this is my takeaway, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel from what you were saying, like you felt like you were passed over. You missed out on opportunities that talent got because you were seen as the producer. How do you show up and do a great job and serve in that role? Because sometimes we're in the season of serving. Sometimes God is like, we're in the season of serving. We're in the season of sitting. We're not always in the season of showing up and shining, where we are the talent, where we are the focus, even though we know in our heart of hearts that we could do that job probably better than these people that have been hired to do it. How do you not necessarily humble yourself, but how do you still show up and serve in that season, knowing that it could be sowing the seeds for that next season?
You said a lot of it too, and you said sowing seeds. I think it's like a multifaceted thing. I think number one, what did I sign up for? What does my contract say, right? So a lot of times we go into opportunities because we might need a job, or, this looks like a good opportunity for me to get in here. And then once I get in here, I can move laterally or vertically here. We're not thinking about, what did you sign up for? So I signed on to these particular jobs, even prior to Sister Circle, as a producer. I had conversations about other aspirations I had, and there were some promises that were made that didn't happen. But at the end of the day, I signed the dotted line to be a producer. And for me, it's all about being committed to what you committed yourself to. So as a producer, and as a really good one, for me, I'm gonna do my job 110% regardless of what my other goals are. That's up to me outside of the job I signed up for, to make sure that I'm fostering the things that I want, right? So I had no problem being committed to what I signed up for. And I'm still a creative. So I found ways to have fun, to stay connected. One of the best things that has nothing to do with creativity at all for me, that has really anchored me in this industry, is my relationships. I have worked with some incredibly talented human beings, good people. And that has really enriched my experience. And then too, as a producer, it's your job to protect your talent, protect the content. And so I took great pride in preparing the talent every single day to go out there and do the best that they could do. I work with some incredible hosts. I mean, even Sister Circle, I'll just point them out. I mean, Selena Johnson, Quad Webb, Trina Braxton, Rashawn Ali. We're talking about the cream of the crop when it comes to just personalities, and they were incredible to work with. So I was able to pull from that experience things that got me through it. So I don't want people to get in situations where, okay, I'm discontent, so I stop giving it my all. No, you give it your all, even though you're discontent, and understand that God still, your light, if you have a light on you, it's going to shine regardless. So even though I wasn't in front of the camera, my light was still very much shining behind it. And that's why I'm able to call all these different people and do different things. Or I go to Essence Fest and I'm seeing all these people. It feels like a big family reunion, because those seeds that I sowed were just as important. And so the more I move forward, the more I'm understanding, like, God had me back there because I had to sow those seeds. I had to sow into those relationships. I had to see how it's done. I got the cheat code. I got to watch these amazing women at Sister Circle, even prior to them, Roland Martin. I got to watch the talent up there in front of a live camera have to make it happen 5 days a week. I learned so much. So for me to now be in front of the camera in any capacity, I feel so much more equipped because I was able to study from them and also serve them.
I think that's such a good point, that we could let our feelings, our pride, a promise that somebody that made to us that we was banking on that didn't really, like, we could start taking things personally, internalizing things, doing a bad job at the job that we're being paid to do in such a way that it could ruin the chances of things that we actually want to do. So you being willing to, I mean, this is what you signed up for, this is what you're being paid for, but still you being willing to put those personal feelings or even your personal aspirations aside and show up and, you know, serve, that is the foundation of these relationships that you've built. And so the fact that you were able to pick up the phone and get a yes, because it's one thing to pick up the phone, it's one thing to make a phone call, but for somebody to answer the phone
the
and
answer and the follow through, that's big. That's big. And I would say too, like, I want people to understand, I was also very angry a lot. The angriest I probably ever been in my life was during my time at Sister Circle, because I was in that internal fight. It wasn't even personal to other people I was around, but inwardly there is a tussle that you have to move through when you know, okay, God has placed me here and I don't want to be here. Let's just keep it a buck. Sometimes God positions us where we don't want to be, and it's frustrating. It's angering. So I had to fight through that anger. And in a couple years after Sister Circle ended, God showed me how angry I was. And so now as I move forward, I never want to be that person again. I never want to be that upset, that angry, that consistently ever again. So for anybody that's somewhere right now where you don't want to be, I get it. And every day you're not going to feel the greatest, but try to pull perspective in and really evaluate why you may be there, because there is a reason, especially if you're working hard. I'm not talking about people that just showing up, oh, I got to go to this job. Oh, I got to do this. No, you coming in and you giving it 100% every day. Really, really try to, wherever you can fit perspective in, just plug it in. I know it's hard when you're frustrated, and when you're mad, it's hard. But if you can try to do that while you're in that particular sitting season, I like to call it, you're also sowing. So just try to keep that in mind.
What would you say was your girl stop playing moment? Like that moment where it was like, okay, girl, you could be mad all you want to, but something's got to change. At some point, you got to take that madness and start moving. Like, what was that moment for you?
I had two actually in my career. The first one was when I was at TV1 and I was producing for News One Now, and I was so incredibly frustrated. I had just turned 30, and you know, nobody really talks enough about the transitions and the changes that happen as a woman when you move into your 30s. And a lot of times you're moving different, but you don't communicate through that because you don't really have the language. So people are kind of watching you move or feel away, but there's no real understanding of why, especially men. They don't get it, and rightfully so. And so I was just really ready to, I felt like I had hit a ceiling. I was ready to move into a different phase in my career. Wanted to be talent, just keeping it honest. To some respect, I didn't want to host the show, obviously, but I was doing a lot of carpets, but all you saw was this, the mic in the hand. I'm like, yo, I want to be in front while I'm talking to these people. So little things like that. And I was so frustrated, and I had a conversation with one of my mentors, D'Angela Proctor, who is doing incredible things in the industry right now as a director and film producer. And I was just voicing my frustrations, like, yo, I want to do this. I feel like I've hit a ceiling. I'm frustrated. And she looked at me in the eye and she said, you should just quit. So, you know, I'm in there thinking she's, oh, it's going to, well, let's talk through it. It's going to be all right. Straight away, you should just quit. And I was like, whoa, quit. She said, yeah. She said, because you being here like this hurts your team. You mean too much to this team for you to stay here like this. So you being here like this not only impacts you, it impacts the whole team. And we can't have that. So you should just leave. She said, or stay here, make the adjustment, alter your perspective, and do what you need to do until something else comes along. And I chose the latter, in part because I needed a job. I was in DC. Y'all know how it is when you have to do what you have to do, right? You got to pay the bills. So I stayed. I made an adjustment. I got myself together. I saved my money, and then I quit that job with no job. Went back home for a couple months, and Sister Circle ended up in my lap. So that was the first time, but it had to be ushered in by someone. The second time was the pandemic. Where you gonna go, girl? Who's your excuse, young lady? where there's nowhere else for you to go. You have to really sit with the fact that all of these years you've been in this industry and saying you want to be talent, what did you do to put yourself in that position? What did you do? Not what did you do off the backs of someone else, of someone else's show, of someone else's equipment, of someone else's name. What did you do? And I had to sit there like, I haven't done enough. I can't even blame anybody. There was so much opportunity I had to do more for me, to do more to foster the dream that I had that I did not do. And so as I sat there with no job, I was like, okay, let's get on Instagram. And I went full force using all the skills I had, the editing skills, the interview skills, the production manager coordinating skills, every skill that I had developed over all these years. I used them for myself. And that was the first time I ever really truly committed to me. So I think sometimes we're waiting for someone to give it to us, someone to do it for us. When ultimately God's like, I gave you everything. You already have it. Make the decision to do it for yourself.
Use what you got, baby. Look, I love quoting Players Club. You got to use what you got to get what you
You
want.
have to.
All of the time. I was about to say most of the time, but 100% of the time, God has given us or someone in close proximity to us everything we need to get what he has for us. Absolutely. Now, you might not have what you had to get what you think you're supposed to have, but what God has for you, you got what you need to get to it.
Absolutely.
And I think to your point of, you know, moving into your 30s, moving into your 40s, which is where I'm headed. We don't talk enough about that. Listen, we don't talk enough about that.
I'm 38. I'm scared.
Oh, I'm 38. Are you an 85, baby?
I'm 86.
Okay, 86. So you just turned 38.
Yes, in June.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm about to turn 39. Yep. So we are inching up on it. But one of the things that I feel like is just kind of comes with the territory is this self-awareness.
Yes.
Is the need, like the understanding, the maturity to know that you can sit down and be mad, sad, cry, blame everybody else, be bitter for as long as you want to be. But until you go inside and figure out what that common denominator got to do with all of this, with every single scenario, you're really not going to get too far. Like you could play the blame game all day, but until you say, okay, what role did I play or not? What could I have done that I didn't? What should I have done more of? What has God been telling me that I haven't been listening to for all of this time? Until you're willing to really like have those conversations with yourself, you just gonna sulk and complain and get on your friends' nerves, you know, that ish, until you're really ready to do something. And I love that you have just brought God into this conversation several times. So I want to talk about that faith part because, and this is just me telling my own business, but when it's going good, it's so easy to have that faith because I can see the fruits. So it's easy to have the faith that more fruit is coming. But baby, when you are sitting in that season of failure, what looks like failure, when you're sitting in that season of, okay, God, what we talked about is not what I'm seeing. When you are sitting in that season of questioning, okay, is this what you told me to do? How do you move forward? Because you said you had to go back home. And I think right now, I want to bring that up because right now it's a lot of posts on social media. It's a lot of conversations around people literally packing up these luxury apartments, packing up these high-rise condos and heading back to their parents' house. No shame in your game, baby. That is a blessing if you can do it. But internally, I know there was some mental warfare that you were going through. Talk us through how you like talk yourself back into yourself.
It's a couple different moments, actually. Definitely leaving News One Now, because when you leave a job with no job, that's that's different than if you're going into something else. I think I just was at a place where I did not have peace to the point where I was willing to risk a paycheck to have peace again. And it's interesting how trauma sometimes pushes us into places where we have to exercise our faith, where had we not had that trauma, we probably wouldn't have done that. And so I'm actually in my life now trying to exercise my faith in a more consistent way without having it be on the back end of something traumatic. But that first time was hard. Egos are real. You know, when you're moving and grooving, especially as a you know, single Black woman, and you're able to have this great job, you know, air quotes, and live on your own, and you're in a big city and you look like you're the it girl. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there grappling with the reality that I'm back home with my parents and I'm grown. 30 years old, 31 years old. I'm not a kid, right? You know, the perception is you leave the nest, you stay away. But again, to your point, when you said, for those who can do that, that's a blessing. So I had to really understand the blessing in having family, where if I need to do that, I can. It was hard. It was a big blow to my ego. I had to get past that point. I had to get past what people would think. And interestingly enough, when I started to share what was going on, people were like, so proud of you. That's so great. Like, you know, I admire that. So we don't really know what our storylines mean to other people. And I wasn't doing it for anyone else, but I just knew I didn't want to be in that situation anymore. So I was willing to risk the feeling of embarrassment or whatever the case may be to get in a place where I had more peace. So that was one of them. The other one was, this was 2021-ish, the tail end. I had a really tough, I had a friendship, a very close friend of mine. Our friendship ended. We're fine now, thank God. Probably closer than we've ever been. But that season was very hard for me because, you know, us girlfriends, when you have close friends like that, it's just different. Like it was like losing a sister. But it was a time and a season, it was about a year and some change, where God got me by myself. So sometimes our friends can be a distraction when we're so invested in what's going on. We're over here, we're over there, we're on the phone with all this stuff. And I was distracted in a way from him. And so when that friendship ended for that particular period of time, God got me by myself. I was with myself a lot. And in that time, I learned a lot about myself. Lord started speaking to me about the victimization piece. Let me tell you something. I was one of the most defensive people on planet Earth. Been there, been the victim, been the person to try to find something that made me feel this way. You did this to me. I'm gonna hold a grudge. I'm defensive. I'm a victim. All of that coming from a perfectionist type of perspective and being a former athlete and wanting to do everything perfect and right and performanceism and all these different things. And I started going to therapy. Like I started going consistently. And again, I got to a place where I was totally okay and excited about having the hard conversations. And that was something that I wasn't able to do before that, you know, that bond was broken for that amount of time. And so looking back, my heart was broken, but at the same time, God was saying, yo, I need to get to your heart. Let me mend it back. I got that other situation. Y'all will be fine in 2 years. Y'all be fine. But right now I need your attention because I need you to be a certain woman in order for me to give you what I want to give you. So that was the second point. But it's interesting. You talk about getting back to myself. I didn't even know myself in a lot of ways. So I think I was introduced to Shari when I had that time by myself. And so when I came back into relationship with her and just other friends as well, I was calmer. I was an even better listener. I was okay with conflict and disagreement, and I was able to calmly talk through things. I wasn't holding and harboring stuff for days and weeks at a time instead of just communicating through in the moment. If something's going on, we talk about it. So those were my two moments. Again, both kind of coming off the back end of trauma, but this most recent one, I found myself. And I think that journey is perpetual. I don't think we ever just, I found myself forever. No, we change. We're about to be 40 soon. We're going to find ourselves again. I think it's being open to the evolution that we need to be most concerned with. And that comes with self-awareness. So my EQ, let me tell you something. I'm smart, but my EQ was low. Okay. The IQ was good. The EQ was in the garbage. But I can say now I'm much better in that area. And again, not just friendships, it extends to the reason why I think I've been single for so long. Not anymore, because it's hard out here. But in my 20s, bye, girl. Had I gotten married, I'd been divorced in 2 weeks. It wouldn't work. As much as I wanted it, it wouldn't have worked. I wasn't emotionally, I wasn't mature enough. I just wasn't.
So even getting into the dating conversation, because I've seen some interviews, I've, heard you mention, I'm a single woman. I saw your post, I think on Valentine's Day, where it's like, I'm ready to get my eggs cracked. That thing is so funny to me. But the pressures of, first of all, there's pressure, period. There's pressure as a woman in settling down, having babies, getting married.
Yes.
The pressure that is added on when you are a public personality, a public figure, people are in your business. They think they know your business. They think that they are, entitled to be a part of,
Yeah.
you know, that part of your story. And sometimes rightfully so, because once you give them a little bit, you know, then they like, well, I need an update.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that space? Because baby, I have not had a real boyfriend in the social media times. Like my husband that I, you know, married, he was the only guy that I ever dated being like an Instagram personality. I don't know how I would navigate, like really getting to know somebody when you could just go online and know all of my business. How are you navigating that space? So kind of a multi question, but how are you navigating knowing your desire for partnerships, but then also being this public figure that people are in your business?
I don't even know if I'm navigating at all. Like, I have been single for so long, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Like, you know, you mentioned earlier in the show about, you know, you're sitting around like, okay, God, this isn't what we talked about. What are we doing? I mean, I don't want to give up because that would be horrible, but I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, hurry up. I was having a conversation with my doctor. She's like, so what about kids? I'm like, yes, sis, I've been wanting kids. She's like, well, let's just, you know, let's have a consultation with a fertility specialist just so I know my options. You know, it's not that anything's wrong, but it's like you want to be able to know what is possible and what is not. And that's something that just transparently I've been very nervous about. And after 35, I became more and more anxious and nervous about having children, just because I'm like, I mean, I know I work out all the time. I know I try to take the best care of myself, but what if I can't have them? You know, it is dangerous. Having a child at any age is dangerous. So I don't know. I'm a very private person. I've always been that way when it comes to my personal life, especially dating, anything like that. Like, you got to be the one. You got to be my man for real. Like, it's got to be basically a ring on this finger for me to post you in any capacity. That's just how I've always been. I don't like people in my business because I don't like that kind of attention. I just really do not. But I think that part of me, that private part of me, just helps me to maneuver. But it's difficult to meet people. And because I am in the public space, that makes it a challenge as well, because there are different things that I'm more attracted to or that I'm more compatible with that aren't necessarily out here like that. Definitely not on the mass level. So I think the frustration in that kind of is tough for me to move through. And I put more pressure on myself probably than anybody else. My family, they talk a little bit about, okay, what about him? You know, what's going on? How's your dating life? It's almost like they tiptoe on it. Like, they don't really like, girl, what's the problem? It's very, so what's going on? Anybody new? Like that. Both of my sisters are married. I'm the oldest of 3 girls. So it's just getting weird. All my other cousins are married. On my mom's side, I'm the only one left. So it's just it's getting strange now. And mind you, no shade to any woman who doesn't want to be married. No shade to any woman who doesn't want to have children. I get it, especially nowadays. For me, I've always had that desire. So I'm only speaking from the vantage point of a woman who's wanted that. And that's why I put the pressure on myself. If you don't want that and people are pressuring you, I'm sorry, because you deserve to live the life that you want to live. And my youngest sister didn't even want marriage. She didn't want to be married. She didn't want to have kids. The youngest one does not have children, but she's married. So you never know what can happen in your life. So I wouldn't say I'm maneuvering through it well. I don't like the online dating. I don't like it. My friends are trying to convince me otherwise.
I was gonna say, you know, that was not gonna be my next question.
I'm not really sold on it. I would much rather, I'm just telling you, if I had the cheese right now, matchmaker, here's your money. Make it easier for me and the gentleman. Do the job, do the guesswork for me. Because too, it's a lot going on. Super busy. Online dating takes a real commitment of your time and your energy. And mind you, I personally don't like talking to a whole bunch of men at the same time. That's just not how I roll. Ladies that can do it, you have a roster, God bless you. I can only handle 2 at a time. That's pretty much my capacity because I give a lot to. And so the online dating has been, I have tried, okay, but I've been a little, lately I've been a little resistant.
Have you taken a date offline? Have you met someone online met them online and then went on a date offline?
Yes, but not on a dating site, on Instagram, which is interesting.
I mean, Instagram has turned into
So
dating.
People get the DMs, and I'm glad that that's been normalized because I feel like initially there was a stigma around it, like you met him on Instagram, y'all going to date. Now it's like, yo, he hopped in the DMs, we're going out. So I don't know, it's weird. I'm much more comfortable with Instagram. And 2, I think you can see more. Like some of these dating sites only allow you to post a certain amount of pictures, things like that. But you can really see how somebody moves. You can see their family. You see different things typically on Instagram. So Instagram has worked in a couple instances. I'm still single, fellas. So, y'all shoot your shot. Jump in the DM. That's where you're going to find me.
In the DMs. I have a resource for you too. So a gentleman named Jack Daniels, he has created.
That is my big brother. I love Jack Daniels.
Call your big brother. Please call your big brother.
He tried, okay, to his credit. Okay. He tried. Okay. And it just didn't work out with a particular gentleman who is an amazing guy. It just
But he has launched an entire platform.
I know. He told me.
Though.
I'm very interested. I actually have to interview him about it. I am super interested. And mind you, I trust Jack. He's a good guy. Love his wife, Marshawn. Like, they have a beautiful family. He's legit. If you're looking, ladies, if you're trying to find a legitimate resource and you like me and you don't want to do dating apps, you go talk to Jack Daniels. He's gonna
listen. I need you to go talk to Jack Daniels though, because when I hear women say, I mean, and it's, I'm speaking from a person who has sat in your shoes, who was literally like, okay, God, like, what are we doing here?
What are you doing?
What is happening?
Right.
But I'm gonna tell you what changed it for me, because I don't even know if you know this about me, but I had this whole business called the Single Wives Club. It was single women preparing to become wives. Like, when I tell you I was obsessed with, because I had been engaged and it was an abusive relationship. It was just, I literally almost threw my life down the drain. And so I wanted to figure out how to get it right. So I started this whole organization for me and other single women who were just like, how can we prepare? How can we do it right? How can we find? And it was literally years of me running that business, single as hell. And to where I'm like, okay, God, you got me doing this work. Like, what's happening? Yeah. But what pushed me over the edge, and I feel like kind of opened up the floodgates for me, is I put myself on and this was Tinder early. This was like 2016.
But before the people got carried away.
Before it turned into what it is now. Okay. So Tinder might not be the place to do this, but I put myself on a 10-date challenge because I said, listen, girl, if you can go on dates with 10 men and you are not interested in any of these men, it's you. So at the end of these 10 dates, you either gonna have a man or you're gonna seriously go to a real therapist. Like, you're really going to commit to figuring this thing out. But you know what did it? My best friend got pregnant. The day she told me she was pregnant, it was like my life flashed before my eyes. It was like we had this pact. We had said we was going to get married. We was going to get pregnant together. Like, we're going to do these things. And when I realized that her life was doing what we said it was going to do, and I was just sitting here running the Single Wives Club talking about, what I was going to do, that to me was like, God, like, okay, girl, you can talk about it all day, but until you're going to do something about it, almost like your pandemic moment when he's like, girl, I gave you what you need. Now go out here and do something with it. That was that for me. And I didn't make it to 10 dates. I only made it to date number 7. And that is not how I ended up meeting my husband, but it got me in the spirit of dating. It got me in the mindset of just meeting new people, taking the pressure off of you have to be my husband. I'm going to go new places. I'm going to meet these guys. I'm going to get dressed up. I'm just going to have fun. And when I met my husband at the club, okay,
people still meeting their spouse at the club, okay.
But I am not that type, like, that ain't my thing.
I'm not either. I'm not a club girl either. I'm not.
He's not a club guy. And I'm not the giving my number out at a club. Like, that's not me at all. So when I tell you it was a completely spiritual connection, but I know it was because I had put myself out there. I had just decided that it's time. And not only is it time because I'm just going to wait for God to send me somebody, I'm going to take action. And I'm not going to force somebody to be in a relationship with me, but I'm going to do all that I can to put myself out there and get myself in the spirit and show God that I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. So I don't know if that's for you, but that's for somebody.
I'm going to receive it. I'm going to
receive it. He's out there, girl. And this is the thing too. You only need one. I mean, unless poly is your thing.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. That's it. Just one. Just one.
One last thing I'm going to say on this topic and on the baby topic. Yeah. I had never even accidentally been pregnant before I got pregnant with my first child. So I was very much so ready to go to the doctor, ready to just make sure things were okay, ready to just
Yeah.
To count myself out before I really needed to. And when I tell you, I ain't even had a chance to plan a pregnancy, and I got 2 kids, 2 surprise little babies over here. So I just say that to say, and I had my first baby at 35. So I just say that to say, all of the deadlines that we put on ourselves, all of these clocks that society says are ticking, the God that we serve is greater than.
Come on and minister
of it.
You better minister.
I just want to, you know, for you and anybody else, I mean, it's a lot. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot that we deal with mentally, especially when we have this dream that we've probably been dreaming our entire lives. So I can't wait to receive it. We're
gonna do an update, child. This ain't gonna have a ring on it.
Listen, I'm literally gonna text Jack as soon as we log off. I'm texting Jack like, hit up Shari. She's ready for you, Jack.
He's gonna say, I've been trying to help her. Watch. I've been trying to help her. She's too picky.
He is. But listen, when the time is right, the time is gonna be right. So just let that sit in your spirit. Real quick though, I want to talk about cancel culture.
Ooh.
Because I watched several of your interviews in preparation for this conversation, and I've definitely seen you have conversations that are not the popular conversations. Like I saw a COVID episode, you know, talking about the vaccines and all of the things. That is definitely not a popular conversation. I saw you mentioning integration, you know, and the impact that integration has had on, you know, the Black community. I have definitely found myself in the past, not so much now, but afraid to really say what I think, because most of my opinions are not the popular opinion. How do you navigate being true to yourself, but then also like treading lightly because everything got to be politically correct?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll go sports and then I'll go everything else. Sports, I don't care. It's just something about when I cover sports, I'm going to say what I want to say. I really don't care if people, how you feel about it. And I think because I'm so confident in that area, I was an athlete and I believe I know what I'm talking about. Not to say I don't in other instances, but there's just a confidence about when I cover sports where I literally say what I want to say and it's over with and I move on. When it comes to everything else, I think, and I'm grateful for this, I think God has just graced me with the gift of communication, and not just in talking and listening, but also there's an empathy that I have for other people. So I'm constantly trying to consider, okay, if I have this conversation or if I say this, how can I not manipulate, but word it in a way that it's palpable for anybody to ingest it? So for me, it's about the phrasing and the wording of what I'm saying, more so sometimes than what I'm actually saying. And I think because it's a gentleness about my delivery that people sometimes, it doesn't even hit them hard enough where they realize, did you just say that? It's more like, wow, great question. Or wow, I love how you said that. It's probably part of my journalistic training just to try to be objective, because yes, I have an opinion as most people do, but I do try to stay in the middle as much as possible. But I also love my people. I love Black people. And there's things going on in our community that need to be discussed. And I think there's a way to have those discussions in a healthy way. Also, who I talk to is important as well, because some people aren't equipped or mature enough to have certain conversations. So I don't have them with them. But people that are, I try to take advantage of those opportunities and have some of those more, I don't even want to call it taboo, but just kind of outside of the norm kind of conversations. But I get what you're saying. And I think for me, it's definitely a consideration and something I think about all the time, even when I'm commenting on other people's things. Like sometimes I don't comment because I'm like, oh, here we go. I don't even want to invite what could possibly be said here. But you know what's interesting? A lot of people, and I venture to say this about you too, a lot of people share our viewpoints, but they don't speak up because they're scared of the same thing.
They will text my phone like, girl,
Yep. They're very relieved that somebody spoke up and out for them.
But a lot of people get killed in the comments.
Yep. And they'll hit you. They'll text you. They email you. They'll call. They'll DM you. Everything. Thank you so much for speaking up, speaking out. They ain't saying nothing. So I think God has just gifted us with the opportunity to be able to be that voice. And part of me just relies on and believes in his protection because he gave me the platform and he gave you the platform and he knows we're going to be responsible with it. So I don't think I'm reckless in my communication, but I know when I have conversations about racier things, I just believe God is there's protection for me because he's graced me to be able to have the conversation in the first place. But it's not lost on me. And cancel culture gets on my nerves. And it's led by people that often have a low emotional intelligence, that often are defensive. And a lot of the things that I described, I used to be. and who also are ill-informed on a lot of levels. And so that's the part that's unsettling to me. Many of the people that are driving the culture don't even have a pulse on the realities that we're living in, but they can determine who we don't follow anymore, who we don't talk to anymore, who we don't talk about anymore. It speaks to a larger, more disgusting issue that obviously we don't have time to unpack, but I absolutely think about it. I absolutely do. But there's a part of me that's like, I know how to talk. So let's talk our way through this. In sports, have at it. I don't care. And you can send me hate mail. We had conversations on 303 Pod about Caitlin Clark for a month. You should have seen some of the tweets and the DMs and all the crazy stuff people said about me, to my co-hosts, about them. We laughed. I'm on the list for like it's like a top 10 race baiter list. It's full of Black journalists, and I made it. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I made the list. Thanks, guys. Like,
how do you not let those things get to you though? Because I can laugh a lot of things off, but it be just that one little thing that I'm like, I got to clap back before I block you.
Yeah.
How are you mature enough to not do that?
I do the same thing. I just did it to somebody today. The man was talking about how I looked because I made a comment on something on ESPN on their page. He was commenting about how I looked, and then I was like, well, you look like a serial killer. And then I blocked him. It's real simple. Like, and there's some people too. I do the follower quota. If you have less than like 2,000 followers, I typically never respond to you unless you have said something that is just so bananas and egregious. I have to respond, but I do have a quota. And then some people are just, like you said, block them right away. So it's not really maturity like that. You know, some people I do respond to, and some stuff is really just funny to me because people are that crazy. Like, you're that crazy to really believe that and say it and tweet it and whatever. That's funny. I'm laughing at you. But yes, I go back and forth with certain people if I feel like it. Absolutely. Okay. And another thing I do, because I'm a wordsmith, I write it like it's with words I know they're probably not going to understand. I get them together and I read them really eloquently, and they never respond because what are you going to say?
I don't even get it. What'd you say?
Exactly. So okay. I'm not that mature.
Okay, good. Make me feel a little better, sis. Because I'll be like,
We're in the same boat, sis. We're in the same boat.
You really tried it saying that. Like,
sometimes you gotta get them. Sometimes you gotta get them.
And I do be going to look at people's pages, like, yeah. But I gotta grow up.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Because you're a human. I do it too. I'm like, oh, what they say? Oh, 500 followers. No. Oh, what they say? 1,500. Nah, I'm not gonna talk to you. Or sometimes I say, you know what? Even though you only have 1,000 followers, I'm going to do you the service of responding to you to just this one time. And after this,
today,
I'm gonna
give you that today.
I'll give it to you.
One of the things that I really, really admire about you, and I know that I don't know how I've talked to several like trained journalists and media professionals, and y'all be side-eyeing podcasters sometimes. I want to say that I'm not new to this. I'm kind of true to this. I've been here for almost a decade, right? I didn't jump on the podcast bandwagon.
You've been doing this, right?
I've been doing this.
You were here before the pandemic.
I was here before the pandemic, before Black people did the podcast.
Absolutely,
okay?
Absolutely.
But I can understand the annoyance when it's like everybody think they could pick up a microphone and do the things. One of the things as an untrained media personality that I truly admire about you and, you know, people who do what you do as commentators is your ability to literally just walk up to somebody and strike up a conversation. I am like whatever, you know, like the queen of small talk. I'm the opposite of that, like the lowest level of a small talker. Yeah, I am so awkward. I'm an introvert. Like I can't do it. How do you literally walk up to any random celebrity? I mean, you could see anybody on the red carpet. Like, what's going through your mind before you put that microphone to someone's mouth?
Wow. First of all, thank you for the question. Second of all, before I answer the question, congratulations to you, because podcasting for 10 plus years is nothing to sneeze at. It's no easy feat. And thank you for just the respect that you offer to those of us in the journalism space, which says to me that you know what you're talking about and what you're doing. So it's not easy. A lot of people, they say, I think like after 8 episodes, most people quit a podcast. So for you to be doing this long, like that is a huge accomplishment. It's something that I haven't come close to doing that I would love to be able to do as well. So thank you for being an inspiration to me. It's interesting. I have a cool story behind that because I always probably my sophomore year in college, I knew that, you know, TV was really the route that I wanted to take. And I dreamed about going to these award shows and doing these carpets and all these things. It was literally a dream of mine. And I remember NAACP Image Awards 2014. It was my first award show I had ever been to. And our crew was working the red carpet. I was producing. And Roland Martin, our host of the show, he was supposed to be the one doing the interviews. And so this is how God works. Before I left to travel to LA, I packed a dress, just in case dress. It was a red dress. And my hair was, you know, it was cool. It was down. It was whatever. You could just curl it up. And I remember the makeup artist, because we were in LA for a week, for Image Awards week. So Roland was doing a lot of different interviews. And we had a makeup artist with us every day. And so the day before the awards, he said to me and my other friend, who was another producer, hey, let me do your makeup for the awards? I'm like, okay, cool, you know. So we had my makeup done. Just so happened in that bag, I also packed heels. Now, you know, as a producer, you're running around. For those who know or don't know, heels is not what you should be having on, because it's constant running around. Brought heels with me. And I was on that carpet, and it was big. The Image Awards carpet is one of the bigger carpets. It's up there with, you know, the Grammys and the Academy Awards and Soul Train. It's a big carpet, lots of different types of people, because it's the Image Awards now. So you got your entertainers, your actors, your athletes, your singers, your authors, everybody. And Roland was late. He's not going to be mad if he ever sees this. Roland was late, and Roland ended up being about 2 hours late for that carpet. And about 40 minutes in, some names really started to come through there. We're looking like, because we're waiting for them. We're like, yo, we're missing people. And so the videographer, the DP, his name is Brett Rodney. He is a good friend of mine to this day. He said, yo, Shari, we need you to do it. We need you to do the interviews. He didn't know what my capabilities were. Let's be very clear. And this is, again, how God positions us divinely. Brett did not know that I had interview capabilities. He did not know my journalistic background. He said, hey, she's got a great personality. She seems to know what she's doing as a producer. She's dressed for the part. Somebody's got to talk to these people. I didn't have any prep. I think somebody found the cheat sheet later on. Like for those who've never done carpets, they'll have like a layout of who's attending, but they don't have a layout of what they've done, what they're doing. They just have a layout of who's going to be there. And I remember I don't even know who the first interview was, but that carpet, I interviewed Regina King and Tom Joyner and Ricky Smiley and the cast of Black-ish, and it was everybody. And in the moment, I'm like, oh my God, like I always dreamed of this. This is crazy. So I'm interviewing all these people, just again, going off of my biggest thing is, what are they saying to me? So if they're coming on the carpet, the other producers that are there, hey, I see such and such. All right, cool. What are they here for? Or what they just work on? All right, they just did that. Okay, now I got to retain it. Repeat it to me 2 times. Repeat it to me 1 more time. So usually I have them repeat 2 or 3 times so I can remember. All right, boom, I start talking to them about it. And if I don't know, it's fine. It's ways to ask a question without saying, well, I don't really know why you're here, so why you're here? What brings you to the Image Awards? I know you're a very busy person. I know you have a lot going on in your career, but what made the Image Awards a must-do for you this year? Boom. So they don't feel offended. So there's ways you can work around not knowing stuff. I did about 10, 12, 13 of them. Here comes Roland coming down the carpet. So I say, here you go, sir. Give him the microphone. He was like, you got it. See you around. He left me there for another hour and a half, and I did those interviews. And from there, I did multiple carpets for the show for the remainder of my time on the show for the next 3 years. And so that really reared me in the off the cuff, on the fly interview skill set. And honestly, it's really about listening. I would tell anybody that I was just telling a young lady that I was helping out in the press room at Essence Fest. She was working for Essence, and I wasn't able to do all the interviews. So she would step in when I had to leave. She was super green, right? She's done some correspondence work, but had never been in a press room. Press rooms are busy, guys. They're just throwing people at you. It's crazy. And I said, just listen to what they say. Just have a conversation. Just follow up with them. Google them real quick. Make sure you know how to say their name. Quick Google search, what they're working on. Okay, boom. And then you just talk. You just talk and you listen. The biggest piece of interviewing is not talking. It's listening. And a lot of times people don't, they don't instruct these young people that that's the key. And everybody thinks because they can go purchase a Shure mic and they can jump on StreamYard that they can do it. We all have the capacity to communicate, but real communication is a skill set. And that's the piece that needs to be discussed more. It is a skill set to be able to have random people coming up to you and you engaging them and them having a good experience. It's not even about me. What kind of experience is the person I'm talking to having? If they walk away with a smile, oh man, that was a great conversation. Thank you. I've done my job. Because I want everybody I talk to feel important, to feel like they matter. And these off the cuff interviews, sometimes people just ask the same canned questions. They don't really know what's going on. It makes a person feel small. We got to remember, these celebs are different people. They're people too. They have feelings too. They go through insecurities as well. They're nervous too. So sometimes it's about putting them at ease. So I would just say repetitions. You know, I was talking to a good friend of mine, former teammate, Marky Freeman, about this. She's like, Shari, she's like, you got the reps. That's the thing that a lot of people don't have. You got reps. So I would say repetition, but I have to thank Roland for that moment in February of 2014 for leaving me on that carpet to fend for myself and trusting me, because he didn't have to do that. So he was able to go be the celebrity that he is, and I was able to have a dream come true that ultimately helped to anchor everything that I'm doing right now. So I'm grateful that God's placed people in my life divinely, even for seasons like that. It doesn't mean they have to be in your life forever, but he'll position people to provide the provision that you need for the dream that he gave you. So that's all it was. And so I haven't looked back since. And I don't know what would have happened if Roland had come on time. I don't know what would have happened if he would say, okay, give me the mic, it's my turn. It's like, nah.
Have you ever dealt with any crazy celebrities on the carpet? Has anybody ever acted a fool?
Not act a fool, but there are a few people that I will not name.
Somebody been rude.
There's about 3 of them that I never have to talk to again.
Okay,
and some of them don't realize, some of them don't know they're rude. Because sometimes it's not rude overtly, it's condescending. I don't like talking to people that are condescending. It gets on my nerves. And sometimes it's their tone.
That you gotta be somebody for them to speak.
Their tone. It's just their tone. And it's not just personal to me. They just talk like that to people. And they may have their select few that's their those are their people, so they don't do that. But it's about 2 or 3. Other than that, I have had incredible experiences with people. Like,
who's
even
your favorite?
Wow, my favorite. This is interesting. My favorite interview I've ever done is Denzel Washington. And not because he was so nice to me. He was kind, right? He was polite. He was a gentleman. But it was the most challenging interview I've ever done in my life. And I think it really changed the course of my career. I think he saw a young, excited, young black girl, black young lady who thought she had it in the bag. So by the time I got to Denzel, I had 2 years in at News One Now. So I knew my interview skills, I had it together. So I had a plan for him. And I think he felt that. Like, okay, she's confident. Let me see how good she really is. And so I was asking him questions. It was when Fences was coming out, the movie. And I was asking him questions about the movie. Very normal questions that I watched him answer on other interviews. Now, I don't really want to talk about that. Excuse me? What you want to talk about then? So in my mind, when he was doing that, in my mind, 5 minutes went by before I came up with another question. But basically, I had to throw all the questions that I had in the garbage. Like the iPad doesn't matter. What's in my mind doesn't matter. I'm sorry. What I planned out in my mind doesn't matter. What is he saying to me in this moment? So he taught me, you never, ever assume that you have an interview in the bag, because at any point, somebody could be somebody that you didn't think they would be. Listen. So I started to listen to what he was saying. I just followed up on everything he was saying. And during my follow-ups, I came up with additional questions. And he was more than willing to answer. And also, there was a question that, like, I remember one time asking him a question. He was like, what do you mean by that? I was like, well, this is what I mean. Such and such and such and such. So then there was a boldness and a courageousness I had to exhibit to get him to answer a question. So I think I really, to this day, if I ever saw him again, I would just want to tell him thank you. Because I really think I was in boot camp with him. But he was kind about it. He wasn't mean. He wasn't rude. He was just super, super straight away and like almost elusive. Like, I'm not gonna show her my cards. If she decides she wants to see what's going on, she wants to see my cards, fine, but I'm not gonna show them to her. And one of the quotes that he said to me ended up going viral. And I'm talking mad viral. And nobody ever saw it. Like, nobody ever knew it was me. A lot of my friends knew, different people that followed me, but I wasn't in the shot. Because remember, I'm behind the camera. Remember now. So we're talking millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people saw this. Had my face been in that, I could have, who knows what would have happened to my career. And not regretting it, because there's nothing, you wouldn't have seen me anyway, because that was my job on the show, producing behind the camera. You can't be in front. But that interview was my most favorite. And man, he changed my career. Like, I just remember I was a better interviewer after that. Much better interviewer after that.
I love that he saw a teachable moment.
Yeah.
Is what he saw the potential in you, because if there was no potential, he would have answered those little basic questions and went on about his business. But he wanted more for you than you even knew that you were capable of.
He pushed me. He did not know me. He pushed me. And then he was like, what's your name? And I told Shari. He says, your full name. He's very like matter of fact, straight away. Yeah, man, he changed my life. Very thorough. Yeah, he changed my life.
Who's on your, and I don't even know if there is a wish list, but who's the one person that you haven't had the opportunity to interview that you would love to?
Oh my gosh, let's do 3. Michael Jordan. I'd probably pass out if I ever got to interview him. And I would say Michelle Obama. Actually, Michelle over Barack Obama, to be honest with you. I would love to interview Barack as well, but Michelle Obama and Oprah. I'm going to shout at her too. So top 3.
Yeah. Okay, well, you have spoken it from your lips to God's ears. I love that for you. Listen, this is a manifestation episode right here. Okay, we are manifesting all of the things right here where 2 come together, baby. Let's do it. I have so enjoyed this conversation. I know that if I could have just hugged you, we could have had even and more enlightening conversation.
You're gonna hug me when I'm engaged and I have my baby coming. You don't worry, it's coming. Come on, manifestation. Come on.
Listen, I hope you're not joking, because I'm
so kidding. I'm not joking at all. And
listen, if you are tuned into this right now, I'm gonna pause for just 5 seconds. Touch and agree in spirit. And this is for everybody out there, y'all. I promise you, I believe this with everything in me, that God is preparing the perfect partner. I don't mean without flaw. I mean perfectly aligned for you, the perfect partner for you that is right now being prepared to love you properly. Okay. I believe that with everything in me. And I just want to speak that over anybody who is feeling any type of doubt, anybody who is wrapped up in any fear, anybody who is comparing themselves to what they think somebody else got. Baby, trust me when I say the God that we serve did not forget about you. He didn't. And the man that he has for you is going to make it all worthwhile. Okay. I got chills right now. I believe that so much. Truly.
That's good. That's good.
Truly. I love it for you. I can't wait for the update.
I receive it. You're going to get one too.
Listen. I love it. Okay, so everybody wants to update though. So let the people know where they can follow you so that they can see the manifestation as well. And anything else that you have coming up that we can support, let them know that as well.
So guys, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's the same handle, at Shari, SHARI_Nycole, NYCOLE. I'm also on Facebook at Shari Nycole Media. You can find me on Facebook at Shari Nycole on, not Facebook, I'm sorry. You can find me on LinkedIn at Shari Nycole. Sometimes I fool around with TikTok. It's not really my thing, but at Shari Nycole, no underscore, on TikTok. And ShariNycole.net is my website. And I do have a masterclass that, admittedly I've been procrastinating on completing just because my life has been a bit hectic, but I do intend to get that out this fall. Really excited just about passing knowledge to our next generation of incredible on-camera personalities, producers, leaders, hosts. If you have a desire to be talent, a producer, if you're already in the field and you just want to, get some more tips in terms of how to elevate where you are, elevate from where you are, that's what that masterclass is going to be about. So I'm not going to release the name just yet, but really excited about just being able to serve. We talked about serving earlier, so I think this is my way to give back. And you guys are going to hear straight from me different tips, but also how I got to give you the tips, different stories and things like that that led me to be able to pass the knowledge along. So that's the biggest thing I'm excited about. Other than that, just working. My podcast is on hiatus right now. Just a Thought with Shari Nycole. It is available on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Apple Music. Y'all call it 5 million different things. Apple Podcast. There we go. Apple Podcast. And is it on anything else? YouTube. Check out my YouTube channel, Shari Nycole. And I think that's it. So hopefully it'll be back in the fall. We'll see. For the people that keep begging me and bugging me about my client, where's your podcast? It's not. I'm on a break. Okay, people need breaks. So come holler at me in September. But other than that, trying to get a vacation in and just enjoy the back half of this year and try to be as fruitful and purpose filled as possible.
Listen, we got about 6 months left. I don't know when y'all are gonna see this episode. The class might already be out. If it is, y'all can find the link down below. I'm definitely gonna get in where I fit in, for sure, because you can always afford to elevate, you know, and just do a little bit better, especially when you have the opportunity to learn from the people who really do this. So I have truly enjoyed this conversation. I know that the ladies are eating it up. They are going to come on over to Instagram and follow along with your journey. Thank you for being an inspiration.
Thank you for being an inspiration. This was a symbiotic exchange, which I always enjoy. I really enjoy the time. And again, it is an honor to be on your platform. I don't take this opportunity lightly. So thank you for saying enough of me to bring me on as a guest. Seriously. This was great.
Of course. Y'all, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like this episode, comment down below, subscribe to the show, and go follow my girl. Catch you on the next episode. Peace. So if you enjoyed that episode, I'm willing to bet you are absolutely going to get your entire life when you log on to everybodylied.com. Y'all, I just launched my brand new blog, which is for women like me who are stepping into the newness of life, okay? Your girl got engaged, got pregnant, got married, and became a mom all in less than a year, and life came at me fast. As life was life, and I realized that a lot of the things that I had been led to believe were a lie. Survey says that was a lie. And so I am sharing all of my lessons learned and what I have discovered to be the truth, along with some resources on my new blog, everybodylied.com. Come on over if you are a woman who is experiencing the newness of life. I'll see you there.